All right, when the bell, expect that you're in here when the bell rings. You have 3 minutes passing time. I don't care where you're coming from. You need to be in here. You want to press the record button? Great. I'm going to review a couple of things. I'm going to take questions after I'm done with my demonstration.
No.
I put some of the work on the table there because this clay really needs a little bit of exposure to the air. So when you guys all wrapped up your work very nicely yesterday and put it on the shelf to store it, I realized you're really late.
Go to the wrong class.
How do you go to the wrong class? Go sit down wherever. Sit right there.
Okay.
Okay?
Should I sit somewhere else?
Just hold on. Everybody chill. The camera's rolling and it's my time. You're not an actor in this story, okay?
I was just telling you.
You're in the audience. So, anyway, as I was saying, I'm going to go over a couple of the methods that you can use to build your form. Over there on that table, I took the work out, I let it get exposed to the air, to stiffen up, to get firm. Because the forms were a little bit flimsy, I noticed. So, not touching anybody's work, just, we'll get to that in a second. All right. We have methods for hand building. We're not using a wheel where the thing spins and we form the clay that way. We're using hands. There are 3 methods: coil, slab, and pinch pot. Some people would like to make a form that's irregular, that's not necessarily a straight up and down cylinder. So how do they do that?
With their hand.
Yeah, but it wasn't really it was a rhetorical question.
Oh.
So when I ask questions like that, it's not really for you to call out answers at this time. But anyway, what you can't do is make a pinch pot and go from there. Because the clay will be all different thicknesses, and you can't work with a pinch pot larger than what you can hold in your hand. So if you want to make a form that's slightly larger than that, you have to use the slab method. All right, let's go over how to make a slab. You take the clay, and you need to take the bag, put the bag down so that you can access it to use the wire cutters. This is what I see students doing, trying to cut the clay with the bag in the way. So don't be afraid of it. Just simply unload the clay. The whole class needs to get this, so let's just act like we mean business. Take the bag out, slice off a chunk that you can use to build your slabs. Now this has been used, so there's a hole in it. Whenever you want to restart your work, say you throw a slab and it's too thin on the edges and it's all cracked, you need to start again. Sometimes you need to start with a brand new fresh piece of clay, but other times you just need to make sure the clay is back into a homogeneous mass. That means it's all together. It's not like little fragments. So starting out, over here there are the tools. There is slip. Get everything you need. Load up a little bit more on the slip.
You need this.
No, that's for after class. And a roller. And I have my burlap material to prevent it from sticking. So, starting out by rolling a slab. Notice I'm not sitting down on the chair expecting this to happen. I'm standing up. I'm using my whole body is involved with this. Okay? Notice my hands are not going above my head and slapping the clay down. You have to have control of what you're doing. So gently, a sweeping action with your arm. My whole arm is involved with working this clay into a slab. And you can alternate between the rolling pin, and I already demonstrated that the operative word of the pin is rolling. It's not a bowling pin, it's not a hammer, it's not a sledgehammer. It rolls the clay. But you do have to use equal pressure throughout to have the consistency, thickness the same. Okay, so that's how you roll a slab. You remember that. I could put this on the burlap. So if I leave it sitting on the table, it most likely will end up sticking. Okay, to make a rounded form, there's a template that could create something like that. Previously, I've done 2 of these by cutting them out of the slabs. So these 2 forms could be connected this way. I'd have to score it at this point with the scoring tool. Rough it up on both sides. I'm not going to do it completely. And then using your fingers. Your fingers are tools in this job. So I see people just thinking that they have to use just the modeling tools. But your fingers, sometimes a little wetness on there, will help to join those 2 seams. So this has been exposed to the air for a whole period. And it's nice and it's just the right stiffness, but I'd have to score it up. All right, you can combine those 2 forms to create a closed form like this. You could also push a little bit to form it the way you want it to be so that it's not necessarily just a straight form. Okay, Appleman? I think this is for you. You and another student who wants to make a rounded form. But it's not flimsy, it has just enough firmness to work it out. All right? What else? Writing in the clay. This is a needle tool for cutting. So people want to write something like hi in their clay. This is not the tool to do it. And again, we want to be aesthetic about what we're doing. We don't want to just scribble it on there. But the Sgraffito tool actually removes material, creating an indentation. So I would recommend this tool, but your clay really needs to be firmed up to start removing it. And maybe you do 1 line, leave it alone, and come back and deepen it or widen it. All right? What else did I want to say? A lot of people are using these forms, which is fine. But please don't think that you have to make it this height or even this circumference. Don't be a slave to these forms. We have the rock lobster class over there, and theirs are huge. So I'm a little concerned about that as far as the glaze coverage. But you can make a small cylinder by hand, just like that. And again, the top of these forms don't have to be straight. You could add material there or you could subtract. I have in my pocket 1 X-Acto knife for cutting clay. If you want to remove chunks, you know, that are really clean, you can do things like that. You can make it look like a parapet. Does anybody know what that is? The top of a castle. All right, so also, let's see what I forgot. Homogeneous mass. At the end of class, we have to, I think what we'll do is put them all together, like this class, and I'll let the air expose, you know, get to the forms a little bit, and then I'll put a big blanket over them for the night. And then tomorrow you'll have 1 more class before the weekend, and before the weekend we'll have to take extra measures to protect them over the long weekend. All right, so that's it. You want to press that? Good, now I'm off. So you'll notice that some of those forms